So what? So what? Let's freaking ride. Grab me on two. 1, 2. Same goal, right? Doesn't matter the team. I get it.
Throws it to the back of the end zone. What a catch. Touchdown.
Looking, heaves it toward the end zone. Touchdown, Army!
Sacked by Patrick Jenkins.
Intercepted next to Domenico.
To run if he wants to. Takes up the 10 to the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown. Tulane.
Heads to the goal line. Touchdown to Army!
Inside the historic Mikey Stadium, the Tulane Green Wave are preparing to take on the Black Knights of Army in the American Football Championship presented by USAA. This is a pregame show brought to you by Exchange Military Discount. Welcome everyone, Maria Trivelpiece alongside former NFL defensive lineman Lige Douzable and All-American running back Rene Ingoglia. Guys, if tonight is anything like the regular season, we're in for a treat.
Man, I can't wait for this matchup, Rene. I'm a defensive lineman, like you said, so I'm going to talk about the defense. I know people want to see points, but I like defense. And when you look at both of these defense, both top 15 in the nation when it comes to turnover margin. And then when you look at them, they both give up less than 19 points a game. These defenses will be flying around tonight.
So the former defensive lineman, I'll talk a little offensive line. Everyone talks about Bryson Daly, and rightfully so, an incredible season, offensive player of the year in the American, but there's 10 starters out there at offensive line. Lige, 5 for Tulane, 5 for Army at the offensive line position. 9 of the 10, either first or second team all-conference. They're going to get after today in the trenches. I cannot wait to watch this game tonight.
So we're going to talk about more defense or offense tonight. We're not really sure, but we do
a
little bit of both. We're going to duke it out on the desk, but we have a great lineup for tonight's show. We're going to talk to Commissioner Tim Pernetti tonight. We also will hear from both head coaches, and as we mentioned, some in-depth analysis from both of you on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. But before we get to all of that, let's take a look at how we got to this game to begin with. The American Conference was just outstanding this year. 8 teams became bowl eligible. These are the standings. As we said, at the top of those, Army and Tulane, the Black Knights going undefeated. Navy, Memphis, East Carolina, South Florida, UTSA, and North Texas trailing behind them. 8 teams bowl eligible, though that says a lot about this conference.
Yeah, it does. It says a lot about it, right? Me and you, Maria, actually were on that last game with North Texas versus Temple when they became bowl eligible. So it shows you the strength from top to the bottom, right? We get to see the 2 best teams duke it out tonight, but the conference is really strong.
Yeah, the parity from top to bottom is great in the American. And you just touched on it, Lige. There's no doubt the best 2 teams from start to finish in this conference are playing against each other tonight for this championship.
And Army's road to get here undefeated in conference play, Rene, was interesting for sure.
It's really extraordinary. I mean, remember the season they had last year as an independent. Their first year in the American, they go undefeated in conference play. I saw them in person at that Tulsa game, was really impressed with them. And again, everyone talks about the offense, and I get it. What doesn't get talked about enough is this Army defense. It's a unit that can get after it. They're physical. They fly around, and I can't wait to watch them go at it tonight. But it's a great team from top to bottom. Ran into Notre Dame a little bit, but a great year thus far.
Yeah, and the Green Wave have had a really good year, too. The thing I'm interested, guys, is to see how they bounce back after last week's loss, right? A lot of hype around them, opportunity to go to the college football playoffs. They got punched in the mouth at home last week versus Memphis, so I'm real interested to see how head coach John Summerall gets his team ready to go after an emotional loss, right? You got to get back up emotionally to play in the conference championship game, so I can't wait to see these 2 teams duke it out again.
It's all about the response here, especially these 2 teams. How will they respond? Who will walk away with that championship trophy? We're going to figure out who it's going to be in just a little bit, but stick around with us. We have Commissioner Tim Pernetti joining us after the break on the pregame show presented by Exchange Military Discount. chilly night here at the United States Military Academy, but both of these teams don't seem to be too fazed by the cold at all. We'll see how that plays out, though, throughout the rest of the night. Looking at the locker rooms right there, the gear and uniforms getting ready for a great battle between two American Conference teams. Welcome back to Mikey Stadium, Maria Trivelpiece alongside Rene Ingoglia, Douzable, and the Commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, Tim Pernetti. Now, Tim, you said this was football weather, so you're not cold at all right now.
It's football weather. I mean, you guys, hey, hold on. You guys are wearing gloves.
Yeah, we don't have
right?
gloves. See,
You're
we're
wearing
tough.
gloves.
We're from the Northeast. They went to Florida.
He's fronting right now because he was waiting to come on, but then went back inside because it got too cold.
I had to take a phone call.
Oh, okay, the phone call. All right, whatever you say. But Lige has a couple questions for you. I know he has some things that he wants to.
So yesterday in the press conference, you talked about the value of Army coming into the conference. Just go into detail what you meant by that and how Army has really represented the American Conference brand.
Well, I think these conference decisions are not easy decisions. Yep. And you look at a school like Army, independent for most of time. Yeah. But the one thing everybody knows, and some people at some schools don't want to admit this, but there's only a few real national brands in college football.
That's true.
And we have two in our league, in Army and Navy.
Yep.
So I know this was a difficult decision and it was challenging, but I give Mike Buddy and the Army administration a lot of credit because when the college football playoff expanded to 12, Mike Buddy sat there and said, we need to create a pathway for Army into the playoff. And I think joining the American was a move that gives them that pathway. And then the flip side is the amount of value that we have gotten as a conference from the visibility and the success that they have had and the showcase, quite frankly, they've put on. In the beginning of the year, I don't think a lot of people expected us to be sitting here hosting this championship game, but it's been a mutually beneficial relationship in a lot of ways.
Tim, first of all, congratulations on a start to a great tenure here with the American. Off to a great start. Let's talk about these two teams, this matchup, and the journey of these two teams getting there. And of course, Tulane was here last year. They've been a fixture at the top of the conference, but we just talked about Army. Talk about the journey of both these teams getting here tonight.
Well, it's been an interesting journey, and it's been probably a little unpredictable, for both. Army, like I said, they have exceeded expectations, I think, where everybody saw them fitting into the conference. And Tulane's been a mainstay. Yeah. They have a new coach. Like, people forget that. John Summerall's in his first year as head coach there, right? And he has a new roster. There's a lot of new players. But Tulane, what I'd say about what they've done is they've invested really strategically in their program, and they're having success because of that. Yeah. And this is their third straight championship game. Two of the last three now in this year were hosted at Tulane. But they are becoming a program that is a mainstay of the American. Just across the board, everybody had it figured out 2 weeks ago, right? Here's how it's going to go in the playoff. But that's why you play the games. Nobody told Memphis what was supposed to happen, and they showed up and they turned everybody's heads.
Played the best game of the year for them.
Right. But this is an unpredictable, highly competitive conference, and that's what we want. When you're a commissioner and you can have multiple institutions in the conversation at the end of November, you feel pretty good about where you are.
No doubt.
I want to ask about some additions because you talked about the parity in this conference. We got 3 new coaching hires, right? Casey Killer was a real interesting one to me. I followed him since he was at Delaware and Sam Houston State. Then you got Scott Abel going to Rice. I remember him when he was at Davidson, called their playoff game a few years ago. And then Zach Kitney, who was a Texas Tech offensive coordinator, going to FAU. Talk about these new hires and them coming into the conference.
Well, I'm excited about all 3. I spent some time with Scott Abel last week at the Rice game, and man, there's a guy that is just full of energy.
Oh yeah.
And I love football, so I talked to him like, Coach, what are you going to run on offense? And he's like, well, you've seen, man. And he's like, hey man, you've seen Army and you've seen Navy.
Correct.
Like, we're not Army, we're not Navy, but we got this thing that's kind of like different.
The veer.
I was like, oh boy, the rest of our coaches might not like this. But Scott brings something really different, and he also has succeeded at high academic schools. Yeah. So it's a good fit for Rice. Casey, his reputation speaks for itself. Yeah. He won several FCS championships. What he's done at Sam Houston State. And then Zach, the only thing you got to read about Zach is what Patrick Mahomes said, right? That he owes a lot of how he developed as a player mentally and physically to this coach. Wow. And I have relationships with all of our head coaches. You never want to see anybody lose their job. Yeah. It's an unfortunate circumstance of the business, but it also signaled me as commissioner that our institutions are serious about success. Like, they're tough decisions, but we're going to double down, we're going to invest, and we're going to get better.
And then what about we pulled up the graphic earlier, 8 teams bowl eligible this year. What do you think that has said about the competitiveness of the American, especially in football?
You know, Maria, 8, I don't think a lot of conferences could say that, right? And having 8 bowl eligible is really exciting. And I know a lot about what's happening with the bowls, but I can't say too much until it's official.
Come on, Commissioner. Break it right here?
Not
break it
breaking
on
it.
the show.
I'm not getting in trouble.
Man.
There's protocol. There's protocol about the bowl games.
A little bit, though, right?
But here's what I will say. Is we're going to be in great games, and we're going to have some competitive, high-profile opponents, and I think that will continue to be a great showcase for what we've done all year as a conference.
Speaking of great games, there's a great game about to happen right behind us in a couple minutes, a little bit more than an hour. What are you looking forward to the most about this matchup?
I think if you look at the year, this is probably how the script should end. You know, these are 2 teams that really were a great showcase of who we were as a conference. And honestly, like, what I hate about it is I would love to have like a little 4-team playoff in our conference, because if you look at what Navy did and when you look at what Memphis did and these 2 teams did, but this is such a tremendous matchup because these are 2 programs that could not be more different in what they do, and it's going to be great to see them line up. I know from playing against Army kids that they play hard, and Tulane is just, they're as athletic as any team in the country. It's going to be a great tilt.
We're excited to watch it. Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure everyone stays right here. We talked about that in-depth analysis. We're going to have that with the Army Black Knights right after this. In addition, we'll hear from Bryson Daly and Max DiDomenico. We are slowly approaching kickoff here in West Point, New York. The Cannons look like they're ready to go. Are the players on the field ready to go? Not too sure just yet. It is quite cold here. In just a little bit, we are going to be hearing from Bryson Daly. I had a chance to catch up with him earlier in the week, but let's take a look at that right now. Here with Army senior quarterback Bryson Daly. Bryson, this is Army's first year in the American Athletic Conference, and you get to host the conference championship game in Michie Stadium. How proud are you of these guys?
I'm so proud of this team and how we've fought all year to give ourselves an opportunity to play, in front of the core one last time and our home stadium one last time. It's an absolute honor, and we're excited for the opportunity.
I think people might not understand what it's like to actually play in front of the core. Can you describe that a little bit?
It's awesome. It's people we live with, every day, go to class with, do military training with in the summer. And having every student at your home games is pretty special. No other school can say that except the other academies. But, they get really rowdy for the games, and they really support us. And it's awesome having them there for us.
I'm excited to watch the rowdiness on Friday. Now, we mentioned the first time that you get to host this conference championship game. You are also the American Offensive Player of the Year. So can you tell me, when you found out, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, actually, I found out after class. A recruit texted me a picture of the graphic, and he said congrats. So that was the first time I found out. But it's an absolute honor, and that's just really a testament to, you know, Coach Worley and the job he's done this year as our offensive coordinator in his first year. You know, all the dudes next to me, the offensive line, everyone who's blocking out wide, the receivers that are making plays. It's really a testament to the team. It's an absolute honor for us and this team.
I've heard you talk a lot about your offensive line. How important have they been to you this season?
Oh, super important. You know, they've been really the foundation of our offense. You know, we're not going unless they're going, and they've been going a lot this year. So, you know, I'm so proud of those guys. They're a great group, and I'm very lucky to be running behind them.
You and that O-line will face a Tulane defense that is top in the conference along with your defense. So how do you get ready for that matchup?
Yeah, Tulane has a great defense. You know, they have a guy that we're familiar with. You know, they're DC. So, you know, we know what they're going to do, but they're going to be very fundamental, and they have really good players over there. So we know it's going to be a big test for us, but we're excited for the opportunity.
Your defense, as we said before, top of the conference in so many different categories. How much does that give you maybe a sense of ease as you're standing on the sideline watching them out there kind of protect?
Yeah, you know, all year they've came up big for us, and that's great as an offense, knowing that they're going to have our back in key moments. And they've showed up every game this year. So knowing they're going to have our back, you know, makes us be really confident, and we can really let loose as an offense. Excited to see what those guys do Friday. They're a great group as well, you know, led by, you know, their three captains on that side. They've done a great job. Coach Woody's done a great job. So it's a great group for our team.
Again, you get to host this championship game here at Michie Stadium. So what would it mean for you to hoist that trophy at the very end of it all?
Yeah, it'd mean everything. You know, that's what we talked about in the offseason when our athletic director came in and asked us, you know, what we thought about joining a conference. And, you know, he talked about, you know, opportunities to win another championship. So it's extremely awesome that we have that opportunity. And, you know, we're going to do everything in our power to hoist that trophy.
Now, you have a nickname that many of the media members, you know what I'm going to say, right? Probably everybody asks you about it.
Yeah.
So your nickname, Captain America, do we like it? Do we not like it? Vibe of it?
Yeah, it's fine. Kanye Udo started it, and I think Max kind of kept it going. And it's whatever. They did it to get under my skin because, you know, I don't like, you know, doing all that. And I don't know if I deserve that title, but yeah, it's a good nickname. I guess there could be worse. So.
Yeah, definitely worse nicknames. So they actually started it just to make you mad.
Yeah, I could think Kanye knew it'd get under my skin a little bit, and Max really likes to, you know, keep things like that going. So yeah.
So mission accomplished, but we like it anyway.
I'd say it's fair.
Victory's out. All right. Well, Bryson, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Now, I know he doesn't like that Captain America nickname, but with the way that he's been playing, Rene, he has been absolutely incredible and deserving of that
Usually
name.
when you have a good running quarterback, everyone says, oh, he's kind of like a fullback. You know, he is like a linebacker. John Summerall talked about it. He's got that mentality. You know, I tell people, ball carriers all the time, there's no rule, EJ, that says the defense just gets to hit you. You can deliver blows as a running back, and Bryson Daly does that. And he just happens to be a quarterback who's about 230 pounds that can pound the rock. I mean, he's patient. He understands this offense. And, you know, without the transfer portal and NIL of the world, Army doesn't have to worry about that. Bryson Daly was able to sit as a young player, watch veterans ahead of him, learn and understand the system, and he's run it to a T this year. And, oh, by the way, when he needs to throw it, he has been accurate. He can push the ball downfield.
Yeah, he's done a really great job throwing the ball as well. You mentioned just the way that he's been so strong, able to run, but he can air it out when he has to, for sure.
Yes. And you need to do that in an offense, because if they put extra hats in the box and they stop them, Lige, you know, you got to be able to make these passes. And I don't think Army was able to do that in the past.
No, for sure. The evolution of this wishbone offense, shout out to offensive coordinator Cody Worley, right? Because you see right here that Norris Short, who's going to have a big role today. He's a guy that can not only take toss plays, but you see it, they can get him the ball down the seams, right? And Bryson Daly has been accurate when they needed him to throw the ball. And I think that's the major difference, right? They make everything look the same, whether they're in the traditional wishbone formation, they get it in shotgun as well, too. And then they'll fake the run, and then it'll be heavy play action pass. So you have to be so disciplined when you take on this Army offense, because the evolution of this wishbone offense is tough to contend with.
Well, you mentioned Noah Short. Him and Kanye Udo have been so key to this Army offense. I mean, Bryson Daly is the one that everybody always talks talks about. It's him, the quarterback, Captain America. But those other two have made such an impact as well.
I mean, Udo is like their battering ram. He's their physical running back. And I talked about it earlier. Yes, sometimes he's in that traditional fullback position in the wishbone, but they'll get him in shotgun, and they'll run that zone play, and they'll run it down your throat. You see it right here. This guy is tough to bring down in the open field, right? You better bring your big boy pads when you take on Kanye Udo. And he saw the nimbleness right there to be able to get to the outside, even though he is a bigger back.
And he's a great leader on this team. His leadership capabilities are tremendous, and he's just that go-to back. And that's the thing. And you talked about defenses. You have to have clean eyes, and I know you know that, Lige. Defensive coordinators say you can't have dirty eyes against an offense like that. That means you're looking in the wrong spot, and they will burn you. And you talked about Noah Short. What an interesting story. He is former defensive back, but he's the most explosive player on the team. And they said, where can we use him the best? Put him at slot back. And he's been explosive this season.
Well, we talked about the Army offense, but the big thing that you mentioned right off the top, Rene, is the defense of this Black Knights team. They have been at the top of the American in so many defensive categories and in the national rankings as well.
Man, what defensive coordinator Nate Woody has done has been masterful for this defense. You see how they're ranked essentially in the top 15 in almost every defensive statistical category. Turnover margin, 7th in FBS, right? Red zone defense. And that's going to be something to watch today because Tulane has one of the better red zone offenses in all the nation as well. So I can't wait to see that matchup. They don't have the biggest defensive lineman, Rene, but what he does is he slants them back and forth, right? And then Andon Thomas does a really good job getting downhill. Max D, Domenico, I mean, he is a baller. This guy is like Weapon X for them. They play him at midfield safety. They play him in the box. They play him at dime linebacker. They play him everywhere.
He played half the season with a broken arm. He had a cast on for most of the season, the leader at the back end. And it's the epitome of team defense, right? And to your point, they'll slant, and the smaller defensive linemen, they'll move around, but they play great, sound team defense.
You know, you mentioned how tough he has been. We had a chance to catch up with him earlier in the week as well. He's been a leader for this Army Black Knights defense, and he's really excited to play tonight. Here with Army senior safety Max D. Domenico. Max, Mikey Stadium's right behind us. You get to play there on Friday night. It's the first time Army gets to host this conference championship game. When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's really special. It's an honor for us to be able to play in the stadium one more time, in front of the core, in front of all the fans. As a senior, it's super surreal, kind of playing for a championship in your home stadium, but it should be super exciting.
You know, we talked to Bryson a little bit about what it's like to play in front of the core. Can you describe it in your own words?
Yeah, you know, the core is cheering for us. They're our biggest fans. They're rocking from the first kickoff to the last whistle. So, and it's tough for them. You know, they're forced to go to the games, but they always have a great attitude about it. And we really need their support to get these wins. And this is going to be a big one Friday.
I think from the way that your team is playing, they're probably not too upset about getting to watch you guys, especially the way that your defense has been playing. So what do you think it is about that unit of guys that has made you so successful this season?
Yeah, I think everyone's just bought in and trusted each other. You know, we had some inexperience, as people would say, at the beginning of the season, but everyone kind of locked in on what they needed to do, trusted their coaches, trusted each other, and really focused on doing their 1/11th each play.
Now, you'll play a Tulane offense that is very explosive. So how are you mentally preparing for that, especially in a cold environment?
Yeah, you know, when you look at the whole conference, all the offenses are pretty explosive. Last week was a real explosive team. A couple weeks ago, North Texas, real explosive offense. So for us, it's just doing what we can do, what we can control, and don't give up those big ones. But they're a great offense. They got great players, great coaches, so it'll be tough for us for sure.
Now, you're at Army West Point, so you're learning about how to be leaders, not just when you're on the football field, but in the classroom at all points of time. So what is it like having so many different leaders besides you when you're playing in these games?
Yeah, it's super helpful for us, especially as a captain, as a senior. You're supposed to be the voice of the team, kind of that guys people can look up to. When you have coaches like Coach Mike Vitti, Coach Munkin, Coach Powers, these great leaders, very influential leaders, that, you know, they kind of guide you and help you. Make our job easy. So I would say the institution just has many great individuals who really help kind of, you know, guide us and lead us to the right direction.
Now, you're a captain, so what responsibility do you feel, is there even more of a responsibility being a captain of Army football at a leadership academy?
Yeah, you know, the responsibility part of it, you may feel like there is some more, you got more officers kind of looking at you and making sure your team, as they would say, is in check, but honestly, the senior class is really helpful. These guys, they hold their position groups accountable. They make it the captain's job real easy. We don't have to do too much, say too much. It's really player-led, and I'm thankful for that for sure.
Let's kind of envision this for a second. The game ends. You just won the American Conference Championship. What's the first thing that you do on Friday?
Oh, I'm celebrating with the team. It's going to be super special for us. It's been a long season, long off season. We've all been together, but being able to just go in the middle of the field, in the middle of the shield on the 50-yard line with all the guys, all my brothers, it'll be super awesome.
It's going to be a super awesome game to watch. Max, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I loved how he talked about the core of cadets.
Man, I'm excited for that.
That's what I'm looking forward to tonight. Just that core of cadets, in the end zone, just cheering on these Army Black Knights.
Yeah, it wasn't just him, right? It was Captain America. Bryson Daly talked about it too. So I'm excited. This has been a bucket list, item for me as well, being able to come out to West Point and see the core in front of this team. And we're talking about defense right now. I think it's something to be said that Max DiDomenico is the green dot on defense from the safety position. That's usually the linebacker that is going to relay the message from the coach. But that's the type of faith they have in him and his leadership skills. And also I want to give some love to his safety mate, Casey Larkin. He literally comes out of the middle of the field and he will hit you, right? Big interception last week in a UTSA game to close out the game. These two safeties have a chance to play at the next level.
Yeah, and Max DiDomenico, that's the leader you want in your secondary, right? The green dot, he's the quarterback of that defense. And, oh, by the way, the only player on the Army defense, first team, all AAC. So that tells you a lot right there.
Well, I think one thing that's so interesting is that this is a whole team of leaders, right? These young men are going to continue their careers leading this country. And I think that is something that, if you are a leader of leaders, that says a lot about
who you are. He's probably going to be a general, I guess that means.
Literally, he's going to.
And that's what I took away from the press conference yesterday, talking to head coach Jeff Monken. He said, this is the leadership mecca of the world, right? That really resonated with me, right? Because these guys are going to be officers. They're going to lead the units, right? They're leading guys on the football field, but there's a bigger thing in life, right? They'll be leading units into battle. So, I think that's something to be said, that everybody is already sort of a leader coming into this game for Army.
Well, Max will be leading that defense tonight, that's for sure.
Leading the defense. I don't think the cold will bother them whatsoever. No. And we're talking about leaders of leaders. We're going to hear from head coach Jeff Monken in just a little bit. We'll see you after the break. We'll hear from Jeff Monken and so much more on the pregame show presented by Exchange Military Discount. There's the Army band getting ready for tonight's American Conference Football Championship presented by USAA. We talked about that core of cadets, but how about the band? I know we're all looking forward to that as well. Maria Trivelpiece alongside Rene Ingoglia and Douzable.
Cannons going off.
Shots fired. Got people jumping around the set.
I jumped a little bit on that one as well. I'm a little scared. I don't think I was not cut out for
well, that was the second one tonight, so I was ready for it.
You were ready. Okay, so Rene was ready. Lige and I were not. But somebody who would have been ready for that cannon was would-be head coach Jeff Monken. He is the leader of the leaders, and we were able to catch up with him earlier in the week. here with Army head coach Jeff Monken. Coach, first year in the American Conference, and you earned the right to host the championship game. What has it been getting your team to this point?
Oh, our guys just have worked really hard and committed to being the best team we can be, and fortunately it worked out for us. We've played some really great teams, and this league is so impressive. The talent in this league, the coaches. So we've been very fortunate to win all of our games in the league this year and be able to host the championship. But it's improbable. I mean, I guess when you join a new league, you just don't know what to expect. And we were fortunate to win, and man, to play the game here on Friday night, it's going to be awesome.
How excited are you to host this championship game Friday night under the lights on ABC, all the bells and whistles?
Well, I'm excited that our Corps of Cadets, our student body, is going to be here. I think there's going to be a genuine excitement amongst the Corps to be here and to cheer for our team and their team. We're part of the Corps, and we represent them, and to play for a championship. It's just a great opportunity, and to showcase West Point, this incredible institution, and historic Michie Stadium on ABC. It's going to be fantastic.
You mentioned some of the talented players in this conference. One of them is on your team. It's the Offensive Player of the Year, Bryson Daly. How have you seen him grow from the time he stepped on post here at West Point till now?
It's been really fun to watch his growth. He's a coach's kid, and has just grown up with a love for this game. Tremendous competitor. But to see him really work his way into the starting lineup and become just a dynamic leader for our team. And he's done that with his personality and his grit and toughness, and also just the way he plays. I think everybody on our team really respects how hard he plays the game, how physical he is, and he's certainly a talented player. But he's just a good old tough guy, and our guys like that.
Absolutely. I think every time people watch him play, you see that toughness, and your defense is also incredibly tough. You're at the top of the American Conference in numerous categories. What do you think has made them so good this season?
I think Nate Woody does an incredible job with our defense, and our guys play really hard. There's some good players on our defense. I never claimed to have the most talented team. We've got some talented guys, but this conference, the teams we have faced, have some incredibly talented athletes. But our guys have played together. They've played good football, and it doesn't necessarily take the most talented guy to win. It's just the guy that executes the best. So we really try to do that and focus on fundamentals, and so I think that's been the key. Done a good job playing blocks and getting people to the ground. We've done probably as good a job this year with tackling as we've done since I've been here, and that's made a big difference. So we play complementary football. Our offense has controlled the clock, not allowed other teams to have as many possessions, so our defense probably plays the least number of snaps in the league, and that probably helps us play good defense too.
Absolutely. Now you're going to go against a team that also likes to try to control the clock. How do you get ready for that matchup against Tulane?
It'll be an interesting matchup. Coach Summerall does such a terrific job, and their defensive coordinator, Greg Asparado, worked here. He was with us and on our staff. Great respect for him. He's got a tremendous coaching staff, but they got a really talented football team, and they're very satisfied to run the football and control the clock themselves. So it'll be an interesting game, and probably limited possessions. We don't mind that so much. They don't either. What's going to be key is maximizing each possession that we have, and we're going to have to run the ball against a really good run-stopping defense and try to play good defense against a team that runs the ball effectively with a very talented quarterback.
He's certainly very talented, that whole defense and their offense. They play some complementary football as well. But what would it mean for you to not only win the American Conference Championship, but to do it, as you said, here at Michie Stadium on your home field?
It would just be a great source of pride for us and our team and this academy and this program to do it here at Michie Stadium. For all the great teams that have played here, the legendary players, national championship teams have played on this field, Heisman Trophy winners have played on this field, and to do it here in front of the Corps of Cadets, that really makes it special when we're able to do that. Do things like that at home, win big games here in Michie Stadium, and be able to celebrate that with the Corps of Cadets.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an exciting game. Coach, thank you so much for your time. You know, I feel like if you looked in the dictionary and it said coach of the Army Black Knights, it would just be a picture of Jeff Monken, no matter when. He just seems like a guy that was made for this role. And when you listen to the way that he even speaks about not just the football aspect of it, but everything that happens here on post, you can tell how much he loves the military, how much he loves the Army and the cadet athletes that he gets to coach every day.
Definitely been here 11 years. Really enjoyed talking with him yesterday at the press conference because I asked him the question, you know, after that Notre Dame game, right, that's an emotional loss. A lot of teams can let that affect them for 2 weeks, right? But he was like, these kids have never let one game be too high or be too low, right? They're leaders of men, and they knew that each game is each week, and it's going to be different, right? So they didn't let that affect them, and that's why I asked him about that, because going into that UTSA game, UTSA is one of the toughest teams in the conference down the stretch, right? Explosive offense, but they put it together, won at home last week, and they were able to host this game because of the leadership they have on this team.
And we talked about the leadership last segment and the players. There's no greater leader than Jeff Monken, their head coach. And think about the era of college, as the wind blows through, think about the era of college football we're in with the transfer portal, right?
Yeah.
So when coaches have a deficiency at an area, they say, well, let's go to the portal and get someone. Army can't do that.
Correct.
You have to develop players from start to finish, and that's a testament to Jeff Monken and his coaching staff, what they do here at Army.
Yeah, Army absolutely incredible this entire season. And for more on the Black Knights, let's go down to the Army sideline with Taylor McGregor.
Army, their first year in the American Athletic Conference, is hosting the championship game here at West Point. They told us before the season one of their main goals was to come in and play in this conference championship game, and here they are. Now, they've also been the best running team in the conference all season long with the #1 rushing attack. But tonight against Tulane, they will go against the best D-line that they have faced in conference play all season long. So that is certainly a matchup to watch, and let's see if they can close out that goal they set before the season to win the American.
Less than 47 minutes until kickoff here at Army West Point. We have the pregame show and a lot more coming up on it right after this. This may be Army's first year in the American, but these two teams have some history. Tulane leading the series, though, 13-9-1. The last time these two teams met up was in 2020. Michael Pratt, former Tulane quarterback, was fantastic in that one. 19 of 27 for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. But we want to go back a little bit farther in this Army-Tulane matchup. 1957. Let's take a look at the tape. On November 16th, 1957, Tulane and Army would meet in the final home game for the Cadets at Michie Stadium on the West Point campus. Army entered the game ranked 10th in the nation and got off to a slow start as Tulane's Claude Mason sped 61 yards for a Green Wave touchdown in the first quarter to take a 7-0 lead. Coach Red Blake's Army squad would fight back and take a 13-7 halftime lead, but find a touchdown from Harry Walters. In the second half, Tulane takes a 14-13 lead as Army would once again give up a long touchdown to the Green Wave. This time, Richie Pattabone rambled through the Black Knights for a 64-yard punt return for a score. With the game nearly over, Army for the fourth time during the 1957 campaign would come back from behind for the win. Bob Anderson, who would break the Army record for rushing yards in a season during this contest, scampered 5 yards around end to give the Black Knights. I think that's footage from when Rene used to play.
It might have been.
Definitely my style, that's for sure, my running style.
You saw that Army, like the quarterback pitched it back and he went to lead block.
Yeah,
I love a little grittiness with the quarterback right there.
We'll bring it back to the present, though, because we have Dave Pash and Dusty Dvorak with an update from the booth. They'll be on the call for tonight's game.
For the first time ever, Army is playing for a conference championship. First year in the American Conference, the opponent tonight is Tulane. And when you look at the Black Knights, they're trying to get to 11 wins in the regular season for the first time ever. Their only loss was against Notre Dame. And Dusty, nobody runs it more and nobody runs it better in college football than Army.
Yeah, and one of the keys tonight for Army is their offensive line. One of the best offensive lines in all of college football. Joe Moore Award finalists, and they've got their hands full. Tulane has one of the best defensive lines in all of college football. If Army can win the battle of the trenches up front, they're going to give themselves an excellent opportunity to win this football game. And for Tulane on the offensive side, their balance is really the key. One of only 7 teams in all of college football to throw for 200 yards a game, run for 200 yards a game. They did not run the ball well against Memphis. They've got to strike that balance here today if they're going to come into Michie Stadium and get the win.
We'll see how Tulane responds. As of a week ago, they were in the hunt not only for a conference title, but for a spot in the college football playoff. They lost at home to Memphis. Now they try to rebound and win the American championship at Army.
Tulane and Army. We're in West Point right now, but earlier this week I made a trip down to New Orleans to chat with offensive lineman from the Green Wave, Josh Remetich. I'm here with senior offensive lineman from Tulane football, Josh Remetich. Josh, you have spent your entire career here at Tulane. You get to compete for one more American Athletic Conference championship. What would it mean to you to walk away victorious in that one?
Yeah, just I'm really blessed to have the opportunity to be able to compete for this is my 3rd one now, and being able to do it in the city I'm from and having it have the opportunity to do it with the guys that I'm doing it with, it's really special to me, and this is probably the most fun I've had so far while I'm here, so it's really a blessing, and I'm really happy for the opportunity.
You mentioned that you've been here for 5 years. How have you seen this program grow from the first day you stepped on campus until now?
Yeah, I definitely, kind of the guys around me, you could see the kind of the different athletes that we were able to bring in with the success that we've had. I believe that the teams that I've been on throughout the years got a lot closer. We're playing for something more than just the name on our back of our jersey. We're playing for the team name on the front. So just seeing everybody come together and playing for each other is really special.
You get to play for some really great guys on the offense, and you're going up against a very tough Army defense. So how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, I think one thing that Coach Summerall harps on and really emphasizes is toughness. So people view us as a tough offensive line, and this is a great opportunity for us to go show that. And the weather is going to be a great opportunity to show that it doesn't affect us and just go play ball.
This is the first time that you'll have to play an American Conference championship game on the road, and you mentioned that weather. So what is the mentality going into that? It's not going to affect you, so how do you get ready?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is all just the mentality kind of thing. If you go in there thinking that it's going to be cold, then you're going to have a cold state of mind and you're going to be cold the whole game. But if you go up there thinking, no, it's going to be warm, you're not going to be bothered by it.
One of the other players on your offense who has been phenomenal this year is Mekhi Hughes. Can you just talk a little bit about what it's like blocking for him and seeing the growth he's had in his time at Tulane?
Yeah, he's a great person. He's a very quiet individual, but when he speaks, he'll speak to the team, and you can tell that he means his words. So being able to block for such a great guy is just like, it puts a little bit more emphasis on what you're doing for him and trying to keep him clean and letting him run the ball as he does.
You guys work really well together. We've seen it play out this season. Now, I want to go back to what you said earlier. You're a hometown kid getting to play for your hometown school just about 20 minutes from campus. How special is it for you that you've had that opportunity to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a blessing to be able to put so much into the city, and then having the people come out and support you, and then you going out doing community service and people recognizing you. And even when you're out to eat at restaurants, you'll be recognized. And it's really cool to kind of sit down and talk to people and hear their stories about how they went to Tulane or how they played at Tulane. And I'll never forget the 22-year, the conference championship that we won. I was coming off the field, walking off the field, and some guy came running up to me crying and saying, we've been waiting for 30 years for this. So it's really special whenever you have that effect on people.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine just seeing somebody's tears just as they run up to you. Now, earlier this week you posted on your Instagram a big thank you post to Tulane, but you said, let's finish this the right way. So can you tell me what you mean by finishing this the right way?
Yeah, I mean, Tulane's just blessed me with so much opportunities, with meeting new people, creating connections, and I just want to leave my mark one more time and go win this conference championship. And coming out on top is really something that we're emphasizing this week, and we want to win this game for not only for us, but for the Tulane community.
It's going to be an exciting one to watch. Josh, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
There you see Josh Remetich warming up. No sleeves, guys. I don't think he's too cold. I'm starting to shiver up here.
But doesn't bother those big hoggies, that's for sure.
I don't know. I think that would bother me a ton. I'm literally shivering up here, so that makes me incredibly cold. Would you be fazed by it? Anyone?
Oh yeah, I don't wear sleeves in the cold.
You don't wear sleeves?
I felt like it restricted me when I was playing, especially on the defensive line. So much of what we do is lock out, right? So I feel like having those sleeves would restrict me locking out. So we had a rule in the offense and defensive line. If you wore sleeves, you had to wear them during the summer, during training camp too. That was the only way you could wear them when it was cold.
Oh, so there are strict rules.
Well, the cold bothers me now because I'm old and kind of decrepit. But when I played, I'm like Lee J, no sleeves. Yeah. Just went out and played. You know, the cold didn't bother me. Of course, I grew up 3 hours from here, so kind of used to it. I live in Florida now, so my blood's thinned a lot. Lee J, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm a Florida guy too.
Floridian too. So
the Floridians are cold today. They weren't cold when they played. But, you know, Rene, you wanted to talk about offense when we first got on this show. So let's take a look at some of that Tulane offense, starting with Darian Mensah, the freshman, redshirt freshman quarterback that John Summerall decided to start.
Kind of came out of nowhere. You know, no one really thought Darian Mensah was going to win this starting job. They thought it was going to be Ty Thompson or Kai Horton. And Darian Mensah just kept impressing every single day in fall camp. And he finally, you know, John Summerall told his coaches, I'm going to start a freshman, guys. I'm going to do it. And he has been outstanding. And he's still got a lot of room to grow. One thing they've been telling him later in the season is make some plays with your feet. Don't be afraid. They're not necessarily called runs, but those spontaneous, when he can get out of the pocket, if he can make some plays with his feet, he's even that much more dangerous. But he can make all the throws down the field. And they are best when they're running the ball and they take their shots off play action.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a key today for this Green Wave. And Coach Summerall talked about that yesterday. Sometimes Darian Mensah needs to be a little bit more aggressive with his mobility because he is a guy that is a pocket passer, but he has the ability to run. Cool story. I did their game earlier this year versus Rice, and just talking about the leadership, even though he's young, of Darian Mensah. And Joe Craddock was taking his son to the New Orleans Saints game, right? And he goes to the facility because one of the people were going to give him a ride because it's right around the corner. That way he didn't have to park at the stadium. And guess who's on the field on a Thursday going through every single start to the script of their game Saturday? Darian Mensah. Yeah. He's out there with his helmet on, going through the plays by himself to get mentally locked in for the game. That just shows you the leadership this young guy has. And to Rene's point, going into fall camp, nobody thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. Yeah. But he just kept his head down, worked, earned the trust of the team, and he's a great leader for him.
He's doing things that a senior would do. Yeah. And he's a redshirt freshman.
Correct.
Great players do great things, and another person who can do some great things for Tulane has been Mekhi Hughes. Man. He came on last year strong. He's just continuously gotten better.
He's one of the best running backs, not only in the conference, but in the country. Yep. He's got great contact balance, his vision. He's a strong runner. Had the opportunity to see him in person, have a great conversation with him. He's just the kind of running back you want. It's a great marriage. I said it's like peanut butter and jelly, him and that offensive line. They really go well together. And I'm going to kind of give my keys away early, but I don't care. For Tulane to be successful tonight, he's got to have a 100-yard game, and they got to go over 150 on the ground. But it all starts with Mekhi Hughes.
He is the focal point of their offense. Last week versus Memphis, 9 carries, Rene, 15 yards. That's not going to get it done for the Green Wave because, again, he's the focal point of the offense. He sets up the play-action pass so they can't take those shots to Mario Williams down the field. He worked on his speed this offseason. You see it throughout the season, him break more longer runs, right? You talked about the contact balance, one of the best in the nation. He's hard to bring down. He is a physical, gritty runner. Again, the focal point of this offense, they got to get him going today.
There's some other weapons on that Tulane offense as well. Mario Williams, Dante Fleming, they've looked really good too.
And that's the thing I think that makes the Army defense a little nervous.
Correct.
Because you can't give up the big plays, and they have athletes. You got to stop the run game first. We know that, but they have so many athletes on the outside, led by Mario Williams and Dante Fleming, where if they get that running game going and they take those play-action shots, or even those quick inside slants, because they're such game breakers. They're such good athletes. If Mensa can get them the ball in stride, that can be an issue for that secondary of Army.
Yeah, you didn't want to give one of your keys away. I'm going to give one of mine away right now. And that was the biggest concern for me, right? This Army secondary versus the speed of Dante Fleming and Mario Williams. You can even throw Keith Brown in there as well. They're an explosive offense, right? They like to stretch the field. They like to stretch the defense, right? That play-action pass, those in-breaking routes, that post route to a Mario Williams, that's a concern for me for this Army secondary. They got to get those guys going. I mean, last week, Mario Williams with a pivotal fumble. Also, Keith Brown. I remember the Rice game. Mario Williams had a couple big drops, and that game was a lot closer than it needed to be. So those guys have to have a bounce-back game as well today.
And watch out for tight end Alex Bauman. I think he can have a big game tonight.
Explosive is the key for this Tulane offense, and we'll talk more about them and the rest of this Tulane team coming up after the break. This is the pregame show presented by Exchange Military Discount. We're about 30 minutes away from kickoff here at Army West Point. It is not getting any warmer, unfortunately, but when I had a chance to catch up with Patrick Jenkins from Tulane earlier in the week, he said him and his team are not too worried about this cold weather. I'm here with Tulane defensive lineman Patrick Jenkins. Patrick, you've been at Tulane for 3 years, and every single year you're going to have the opportunity to play in an American Conference Championship game. What do you think that says about this Green Wave program?
Well, it just shows how good of a program we have here in New Orleans. Kudos to my coaches for just running the program, and our athletic directors and just everybody, our whole support staff, for it being a wonderful program.
It's certainly a wonderful program, and another thing about this program is its defense and its toughness. You get to be a part of that defense. What has it been like playing with those guys all the time?
Man, it's been so fun, man. This whole year has been fun, man. I feel like our defense has been just flying around, just making a lot of plays. I think we lead the nation in touchdowns on defense, so it's been really fun, this whole year.
What do you think it is about that defense that makes them so aggressive and able to fly around, as you said?
I feel like our coaches, putting us in the right positions to make plays and just do our jobs, and it starts with our guys too, with just having a lot of effort and just running around, getting to the ball every play.
I can see you light up when you talk about your teammates on defense. Now, you'll have a tall task on Friday. Bryson Daly and that offense have been tearing it up a little bit in their own right. So how do you prepare for that?
Our coach, some of our mottos this week has just been saying, like, just do your job. So that's been our motto on defense. Do your job. Just keep your eyes on your man. Keep your eyes on your key. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to do somebody else's job. Just do your job. So that's been our whole focus this week.
Keep it simple. Do your job. Now, the job on Friday, it's your first conference championship game that's not going to be here at Tulane. It's going to be a little bit colder in West Point. How are you getting ready for that?
We're not worrying about the weather. We're not worrying about it. We're just trying to go up there and win the game. We don't care. We playing in our backyard. It don't matter. We're just trying to go win the game.
Absolutely. What would it mean to you to win that game, especially in your senior year?
It'll mean a lot to me, knowing the work that these guys put in, this team has put in, what we've been through this year, man, it'll mean a lot to me, because we've been through so much as a unit, as a team, as a coaching staff. So, to get that win, it'll just top it off.
It'll be an exciting one to watch. Patrick, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Guys, we know that the Tulane defense is so good, but I think that interview with Patrick Jenkins shows why. The way that he talks about how he likes playing with those guys says so much.
I mean, he is the focal point of the defense, right? The defense goes how he goes. He's the big guy in the middle. He's the one that gives that interior pass rush, and he's a disruptor. Talk about first step, get off. Patrick Jenkins has it, right? He's a disruptor up front. So, yes, there's so many good players on this Tulane defense, but it all starts with him.
He's clearly the best interior defensive lineman in the conference. There's no doubt about it. First team all AAC 2 years in a row. It's going to be a treat tonight to watch Patrick Jenkins go up against a very good Army offensive line. But to Lee J's point, it starts up front with Patrick Jenkins. If he can get that penetration, win that line of scrimmage, that can be issues for Army.
To that point, right, when you're playing this Army team, right, you want to get them behind the sticks. And you talked about it, getting in the backfield, creating havoc.
Giving my keys away again.
That's what Patrick Jenkins can do. And the thing is, if you want to rush the passer, you got to get them in bad situations in Army. You can't have them in third and short, fourth and short, because even if it's 4th and 4, they'll go for it. They'll go for it. So you have to get them in second and long, third and long. Patrick Jenkins will be key in doing that tonight.
Third and short for Army is like second and short for most normal college football teams, because they're not worried about fourth down.
Patrick Jenkins is such a huge part, as you guys said, for Tulane to be ranked nationally in a bunch of different categories on the defensive end. They have just looked so dominant.
And the interesting thing about this defense, we haven't even talked about it, their defensive coordinator, Greg Gasparato, his mentor is Nate Woody, the defensive coordinator here at Army. Greg Gasparato, coach here at Army. So I think that bodes well for this defensive unit, because they're very familiar with what Army does and what they want to do tonight.
Without a doubt, what better defensive coordinator to have than somebody that was actually here learning under Nate Woody, that knows how to take on this wishbone offense. So you would think coming in, they'd be more prepared than most teams having to face an Army offense. You saw right there, so many times in the defensive category, they're in top 20 in the nation. We talk about turnover margin. You talk about fourth down defense, which will be another key to watch tonight, because Army is aggressive on fourth down. They're like Dan Campbell for the Lions. If it's fourth than anything, they're going for it, right? So that'll be something to watch as well.
Right? That's what he said, bite off your kneecap. That's
exactly.
And remember, this is a Tulane defense only brought 4 starters back. So you got a new coaching staff that takes over, only 4 starters on defense, and they've gotten better each and every game throughout this season defensively.
And I want to talk about some of those other guys on defense. Tyler Grubbs and Sam Howard have looked really stellar as well.
Really good linebacking core. I mean, Sam Howard and the Grubbs both were second team all in the American Conference, right? Those are the guys that get downhill in a hurry. We talked about Patrick Jenkins already. Bailey Despain is a really good safety as well. He was an all-conference safety as well. So, yes, Patrick Jenkins gets all the accolades, but there's some guys at each level of this defense that play high-level football.
I asked John Summerall about Tyler Grubbs, because he's really tight with him. And he said he's kind of like watching himself as a player when he was a linebacker at Kentucky. That's how tight he is with Tyler Grubbs. And so that linebacking core, great. Slim Despain on the back end, you talked about it. He's a veteran. He's a leader. One of the starters I talked about that came back. And they really have it in all areas of the defense.
Another guy to watch, Caleb Ransom, who came over from Troy with the head coach, John Summerall. And if you don't know, John Summerall is a defensive coach by nature, so you know his defense is going to be good. It was good at Troy, so he's a guy that's going to be big in run fits, especially against this wishbone offense. And then you talked about eye discipline earlier. When they want to go heavy play action pass and take shots down the seam, it'll be Caleb Ransom.
And it should be noted, when John Summerall was at Troy, they beat this Army team. So he's got familiarity playing Army here at Michie Stadium.
Yeah, and we had a chance to talk to Coach John Summerall about this matchup tonight against Army. I'm here with Tulane head coach John Summerall. Coach, in just your first year with the Green Wave, you're taking them back to that American Conference Championship game. How are you able to continue the success that's been with this program?
I think it starts with the core group of players that stayed through a coaching change. You know, you look at Josh Remitich, Rashad Green, Pat Jenkins, Tyler Grubbs, Slim Despaney, Mekhi Hughes, Alex Bauman. That's sort of a core group of guys with some others added to it that a year ago this time, when it would have been okay or easy for them to leave, decided to stick around. And then a lot of the new guys that have joined the program since I took over, seeing that, you know, two groups become a team is really, I think, why we are in this situation.
What do you think made them stay?
Their love of Tulane, their love of what they had built and invested, the city of New Orleans. There's a lot to love here. And so I think just the opportunity to continue what they were doing and what they had built. You know, this is a player's first program. Doesn't matter who the coach is, myself or anybody else. Our team and our program is about the players. And so I think it's really something that they had decided to commit to. And then the academic pursuit of getting their degree here, which is a big deal at a place like Tulane.
I could tell just by talking with some of your players how much they love it here at Tulane. And one player that you mentioned was Mekhi Hughes. Now, he has to go up against that Army defense that people keep talking about. So how do you get him going on Friday?
Yeah, you know, Mekhi is a really good football player. When he runs for 100 yards, we usually have a good game. You know, he's very steady. He's very consistent. And they're a challenge. Army's defense is really good. We have to be able to, you know, get our yards in the run game when they're there. If they're going to load the box, we have to be able to hit some run actions and some vertical passes off of it. But we got to feed Mekhi, and hopefully we can control the line of scrimmage offensively to allow him to have positive opportunities.
Absolutely. And then Army's offense and Bryson Daly. Talk to me a little bit about your defense. How do you game plan to stop what he's been able to do this year?
Well, we've got a ton of respect for him. He's a phenomenal player, really, really tough. He looks like a linebacker playing quarterback at times. He throws it pretty good too. But he's a competitive guy, blue collar, chip on his shoulder, gritty player. We got a gang tackle. You know, a big part of what he does and really what they do offensively is they get what I call leaky yardage, where first contact may be at 3 or 4 yards, but next thing you know, the ball carrier's down at 7, 8, or 9 yards. And so going to be a real challenge for us defensively. And within the normal run plays that you have to make sure you stay on top of them in the coverage game because they hit the vertical shots off the run game. But he's a really good football player. He's going to be a load for us. We have to really be assignment sound and gang tackle the ball.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch on Friday. Now, your team won every conference game except that last one. So what can you take from that loss to Memphis, and how do you use it as a motivator against Army?
Well, we talk about our keys to victory a lot around here. 3 things. One is win the run game, which means run the ball, stop the run. Number 2 is win the explosive play battle and the special teams battle. And number 3 is win the turnover margin. We got outrushed significantly in our one loss in conference, and we were -3 in the turnover margin. All 3 of those turnovers being inside the 10-yard line. That's not a recipe of success to beat anybody, you know, and you can't beat anyone until you don't beat yourselves. And so I think as we look back and kind of reflect as a team on what went wrong and then maybe what had gone right the previous 8 games, those are critical areas that's either helped us be successful or kept us from being successful. And so running the football and then winning the turnover margin I think are critical for us to have an opportunity to be successful Friday night.
You get that one opportunity on that Friday night. What would it mean to you in your first year to hoist that American Conference trophy?
Well, for our players to have an opportunity to play for a conference championship, you know, it's special. You know, we talk about there's 14 teams there in this league, and there's 2 teams playing for the championship Friday night. There's over 130 FBS teams in college football, and there's 9 FBS conference championship games this weekend. 18 teams playing, right? So that's a very special privilege that our guys have earned. Each want them to go out and represent themselves the best they can, play a good, clean, hard-fought game, and play the standard that they've set. And hopefully our guys do that. If they do, I feel good about our opportunity.
I think a lot of people are excited to watch both of you guys go at it on Friday. Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Roll Wave.
Tim Pernetti has been making his rounds here at the American Football Championship. He was up on the desk with us. Now pregame, he's talking to head coach Jon Sumrall. I wonder if they're discussing maybe some playing days. It looks a little bit intense right there, but you see the breath for sure. It's chilly. Let's check in on the Tulane sideline with Taylor McGregor.
Tulane comes to West Point in a good-on-good matchup. Tulane has the best offense in the American, and Army has the best defense in the American, so an interesting matchup to watch. Another thing to look out for is Tulane's coldest game this season was 58 degrees at kick, and right now it's 22-degree feels-like temperature at West Point. So how will that impact a Tulane team? They flew into New Jersey early yesterday. They practiced at the Giants facility to try to acclimate themselves. Jon Sumrall said he hopes it will not play a factor, and he's confident it will not, but something to pay attention to.
The fans here are excited for this game. There's Captain America, Bryson Daly. We'll maybe have to chat with him. Stick around. We have keys to the game coming up after this. We are almost 15 minutes away from kickoff here at the United States Military Academy, Tulane and Army in the American Football Championship game presented by USAA. This is going to be an exciting one tonight. Army undefeated, Tulane coming in with just one loss on the season. Let's take a look at some of our American Conference Award winners. Bryson Daly, he'll be in the game tonight. He is the Offensive Player of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year from UTSA. Robinson doing a very good job for the Roadrunners. Jonah DeLonga from UAB. He was fantastic on special teams, the kicker, just so consistent all year long for them. The Freshman of the Year, Joseph Williams from Tulsa. Leisha, you got to see him play a couple of times. He was great.
Oh, he's a baller, man. A bigger receiver can go high point the football. He came on strong for Tulsa exactly in the last 5 weeks. Talking about Jamori Robinson, it was tough to see him go down in the Army game last week, but he was unblockable at times this year, like getting to the quarterback, suffocating quarterbacks, tackles for losses. He did it all on that UTSA defense. So those two guys, man, I was excited I was able to call each one of those games at least twice for both of those teams.
And, of course, Jeff Monken, Coach of the Year. So first year in the conference and taking home 2 awards. Coach Monken and Bryson Daly is the Offensive Player of the Year.
I think that says so much when you can come into a conference and just have so much success, not just as a team, but individual award winners.
Man.
I mean, this has been such a competitive year of football. Both of you guys have talked about it. You've called a lot of the games. And so if you're able to do that in your first year and go undefeated and host the conference championship, There's another cannon.
We were ready.
Not a single person jumped the national anthem at the United States Military Academy. Nothing else like it.
Nope.
Now, we already talked a little bit about each of your keys. You gave some of them away, but Lige, let's go through them in more detail now.
Yeah, I want to get into my do's and don'ts first when Army has the ball on offense. And it's get Noah Short going. Short is a versatile slot back for the Black Knights. They use him in the run game and out on the perimeter in the pass game. This Tulane defense really struggled last week with a guy that had a similar skill set in Greg DeWosier, who had 3 touchdowns and 120 all-purpose yards. They got to get Short going. And the don't for the Tulane defense, don't allow Army to stay ahead of the change. This evolutionized wishbone offense is tough to contend with, but it's even harder if you allow them to stay on track and stay ahead of the chains. Tulane must not let that happen and force Army into some third and longs. Now let's go to when Tulane, is on offense, right? And when Tulane is on offense, get Mekhi Hughes going again. Hughes is the focal point of this offense. He had over 1,300 rush yards this season, but only had 15 yards on 9 carries last week. That doesn't cut it for this Greenway offense. They got to get Mekhi Hughes going, and don't for the Army defense. Don't allow the big play. Tulane has some explosive receivers in Mario Williams, Dante Flemings, and Keith Brown. The Black Knights can't allow those guys to get behind the defense and have big plays.
And Rene, how about you?
We didn't even talk, but very, very similar, which is a good thing. So, we'll go Army offense first, win first down. And what does that mean, win first down? And for a team like Army, it's 4 yards or more. If you do that, you've won first down, and you're in a really good position offensively. And now, contrary to that, defensively for Tulane, you need to win first down as well. How do you do that? It's 2 yards or less. Now you say, what about 3? That's kind of a push. But for Tulane defensively, if you can keep them 2 or less, then now you are ahead of the change and you're in a good position because Army will just feast you if they get 4 or 5 yards on first down. You absolutely cannot do that. Tulane offensively, Lige hit on it. You got to get Mekhi Hughes going. He needs to have a 100-yard game tonight. And as an offense, they got to have more than 150 yards rushing. But it all starts with Mekhi Hughes. And off of that, play action pass and those quick slants we talked about to those talented wide receivers and let this skill get in space and put pressure on that Army secondary. And then the Army defense, limit those explosive plays, right? Cannot let those guys get loose. If Army can do that, kind of corral them, I think they'll have a good shot tonight.
Both of you, very similar keys to the game. It's like
we never talk.
It's like you've worked together before or something like that. But that is going to do it for us here tonight on the pregame show presented by Exchange. It's going to be Tulane and Army for the American Football Championship presented by USAA. I'm Maria Trivelpiece. He's Lige Douzable, Rene Ingoglia, for our producer, Tom Piero, our director, Drew Vincent, and our entire crew. We hope that you stick around and check out the entire game over on ABC. We're less than 10 minutes from kickoff, the American Football Conference Championship game.